Hello, Biblionauts. Welcome to another installment of Book Self Essentials, series of videos started by David Wiley, in which he talked about a book that he considered to be essential, meaning part of the core of his library, that I have participated on. I made a first video talking about the Nicomachean Ethics from Aristotle, and here we are with another example of why a book self-essential is not a favorite book. And I just want to emphasize this before I move forward with a different kind of book. But today I am here to show you Sappho. This is not the edition that I like to be holding here. My edition of Sappho's poems was in Spanish and is away from me right now. But this looks much more complete. I like the translation more here than on the previous book I had. And it looks like it's gonna be the one that's gonna replace every other book that I have with her poems. Sappho is not one of my favorite poets. How could she be? We barely have anything from her, and most of her poems are incomplete. And that is part of the beauty, that is part of the reason why she has been mystified. But a book self-essential is not a book that you consider to be the best book you read, the most complete book you read, not even the book that spoke to you the most or a favorite book, as I said. It's just a book that you keep going back to, that is the blood running through the veins of your library, keeps you going back to it, keeps you interacting with that library. And that's why I want to make my whole library only of 500 books, and that every single one of those 500 books can be considered an essential book. That's my ultimate goal with joining the Read What You Own challenge. A challenge in which basically different booktubers and readers in general try to read all the books that they own before they buy any new books. Partially in order to understand, I guess, in order to not have those books as dead weight, but as things that speak back to them. I mean, like that's the main reason, apart from the accumulative aspect of just buying things that you don't use or consume or interact with at all. But my reason is more philosophical. I don't want to have books that I don't consider essential. I don't want to have anything that I don't consider essential. That might not be true, but I guess I'll have to revisit this claim in the future. However, Sappho, why is she here? If she's not my favorite poet, maybe not even one of my favorite poets, she would not be on my top 20, probably. And she definitely is not a great poet in the sense that, like, we just don't have enough of her for her to be considered that. Of course, she is considered that. Of course, there's many people that only ever reads Sappho and three other female poets that they know of. Of course, there's always gonna be people like that, but in reality, if you read the poems, I don't think that we can say that anything here is complex or cryptic, or cryptic is for sure, and that's part of the mythical attraction that Sappho has. Because we only have fragments, and those fragments can be very mysterious, right? And people likes that, especially people who doesn't like to read, who doesn't like to understand what they read, tends to prefer things that takes them away from what they're reading. And I'm not saying that Sappho does that. I'm saying that some people seek that in books, and they can find sometimes that in Sappho, just because there is not enough of her for us to extract a coherent narrative on her poems and on anything she wrote, in most cases. So that's at least my opinion. I haven't read Sappho in a while, but that's only because I didn't have a book from her. The reason why for me she enters this canon of essential books in my library is because when I had Sappho, when I had any book from or with Sappho's poems, I would use her as a great place to sort of like clear my mind and bring in new ideas. It's like a brainstorming for me. You just open a page and read. When anger is pressed in the breast, guard against a nightly barking tongue. And it's like there's not enough in there for you to extract any coherent meaning, for you to get a conclusive perspective on anything. So if at some point you just, I don't know, are trying to have an idea, to think about something, to reflect on something else, to write, I feel like Sappho can be a really good book poet to fall back on. I don't know if there is a female word for the word poet, like in Spanish you say poeta or poetisa. I don't know if there is such a thing. I'm just calling her poet, and there's another word, but I don't care honestly. Let me know in the comments if I'm misexpressing myself here. It's late. I'm tired. And yeah, it's been a ride. I'm preparing for a long journey, a long hike. I'm gonna be going away. However, before that, I have now about 5 days to finish the read along of the Dialectic of Enlightenment, to give a couple of book recommendations from books I have read, and to make a bunch of videos so that this channel doesn't fall in just deep in the void of silence until I come back. So yeah, Sappho. I would recommend to have Sappho in your library. I would recommend to have Sappho because you can always fall back into her and she will send you places. Not so much to other books, but still make you think, and you will never know. At least for me, I can never know what I'm gonna get from this. I open a page and I read a verse I already read 100 times, and it tells me something different. And every single time, it's not really her; it's just me creatively interpreting whatever I get in these pages. But it allows me to start a thought process that leads me somewhere. And if I am feeling stuck, that's very helpful. So having a poet like this in a library, there is also, why not? It's also seductive in the sense of it's a mythical mystery of not knowing enough, of having an incomplete puzzle of her material. I think it's very useful, and because of that, I think she's grown to become an essential on my library. Sappho. I will probably be reading her on this Poetry Thursday, or maybe Holderlin, but we'll see. Until then, I'll see you on the other side, probably more awake and in a brighter moment of the day.